right. Good afternoon. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to do a live podcast, How to Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. This is broadcast around the world. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and I'm transmitting on YouTube using the StreamYard application. I had a show earlier today at 10 o'clock, and you're probably wondering why I'm not on at 7 tonight. Well, I've been telling you for the last week and a half that um, tonight is Friday Night Lights, and that's where we have football. And my son, is on the team and so forth. And it's a family outing for my family. So I'm doing this podcast a couple hours earlier. It's my evening podcast, but I'm sure that you guys will all find me. Um, the connections to Facebook were down to one, and it's been really hard, I guess, to find the connections. So I hope you all find it. Of course, my regulars too. But I'm talking about the child protection system. It's a government entity, a branch of social service that's supposed to take care of our children and protect them from neglect and abuse. And if the family needs help, to help them with social services like food and education, medical and housing and clothing, and even a job. And so they're supposed to help you with all kinds of services too. There's other kinds of services too. And unfortunately, if your family has a hiccup or uh, there's reasons why they feel your children in imminent danger, they may take your children. That's how it's supposed to be. And they're supposed to also bring you back together with family unification. But I got news for you. 99% of the time, children are taken if they're not in danger or not. And I say that CPS is corrupt because the people I talk to, I've only talked to three good social workers of the CPS. And one was a clinical psychiatrist and had additional training of 6 months in Maryland. The other one was a third party social worker working for the child protection system. And she knew what I was talking about, how corrupt and how much problems there were. And then the third one was a foster care parent that was only interested in helping it out, not adopting kids. And so she gave her side. So it's nice to have those three individuals be a part of my podcast. Now, I also have some regular people that are on my podcast all the time. And one of them is Faye, and I'm going to see what she's doing. She missed my morning show. I don't know what happened to her, but she missed it. I think I'm going to call her and see if I can get her to talk or listen on the show.
Hello.
Hi, Faye. Welcome. I'm live on my podcast because today is Friday Night Lights, so I'm on early at 3 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock time. So if you'd like to um, talk on my show, you can listen or talk. Okay, Faye?
All right. Well, thank you.
But anyway, I got Faye, who's a single mother from Kentucky. And she has two children. She lost her daughter through no fault of her own. And she had to choose between her and her son. Her son's special needs. So she's trying to get custody of her son. But she's a courageous woman that helps out other people that are going through this too. Now, there's several ways you can work with this podcast. Um, First way is that you can um, interact with this podcast. What I'm trying to say is just by being in this room, the presence of being in this room is all you have to do. You can listen, take notes, and um, also you can do emojis. You can do smiley faces, hearts, thumbs up, those kinds of things, and that's really easy to do. Now, Um, One of the um, other things you can do in this podcast is to make comments. Now, when typing a comment, because I'm broadcasting on YouTube using StreamYard, there'll be a comment section, and you can make a comment or a question about your CPS issues or your case or whatever it may be. I'm talking about the child protection system. And so just text it and show your name, because a lot of you have interest in names and like jumping alligators or running hippopotamus or stargazers. I just like a simple name: Mary, Betty, Peggy, Bill, Tom. Some simple name I can call you, just first name, and then the city or county and your state. Now, when I say the city or county, it's one or the other. You don't have to do both. And the state, because I try to get kind of an understanding where all the CPS cases are coming from. Now, I also include a city and country. Now, what I mean by a city and country, there are right now about 13 countries that have text a message in, and I'm open to everybody. This is a worldwide podcast, and I don't want anybody to feel excluded out. And CPS is an important matter, whether in your backyard or around the world. And so it helps me to see where they're coming from and what's going on in their world. So from Bangladesh to New Delhi, India, to Africa, and Africa has been several countries. Been Liberia up north on the west side, and then the west province of South Africa. Then there's been Rwanda on the central east part near Lake Victoria. And then there's been Mozambique down from opposite Madagascar, and that's on the east side. And also, we had a terrible fire today that killed these children, and it's been happening a lot in the same country, and it's near Mozambique. And this was really sad to hear about children that were burned beyond recognition. It was really horrific. I think there was something like 17 children killed and 13 are injured. It's a big mess, and that's in the Congo, and that is on the east side of Lake Victoria, and on the east side of Africa. But they had a terrible issue today, and so my prayers and condolences go out there, because I know what those mothers and fathers are going. And so we will switch to Europe, and I have England, Scotland, and Wales, as well as Sweden and Denmark, that have texted comment in. Then across the pond, I've had North America with Canada, both coasts, have come in, and then all the 50 states I've talked to, including some really remote places like the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, where the Lakota Sioux are. And then in Oklahoma, we have the Cherokee and the Osage. And so we've had some interesting calls from Native Americans and also the First Nation Indians in Canada. And and we talk about ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. And then in 1980, Canada had their own act, and they have their agency. It's called the First Nations or Indians. And then I'm sorry, the school got out, and people, I guess, are thrilled to death in no school. Anyway, that's the background noise, because I'm broadcasting live from Surf City, USA in California, and I'm up the street about a mile from the beach, and we do have a wind, which is blowing the hot air around. It was a cool breeze for the ocean, but today is one of our extreme heat days. We've had several. Luckily, I live at the beach, and it's not too bad. It's not too bad there. So we go through the United States and down to Mexico, and then down to South America to Guyana, which is east of Venezuela, north of Brazil. And then we go across the Pacific, the land down under, Australia, and I've had two comments from there. So it is open. And so all I ask is your first name, your city or county, the state, or the city or county or country you are asking a question from, and try to be complete with your case. What I mean by that is, what is your family structured? What are the kids, the ages, the sexes? What are the allegations? And how were your children taken? And then on that, I wanted to know um, um, where you at on your case. Where you at on your case. So be complete. And that's the same way if you're going to call in too. We'll talk about my fourth thing of calling in. So this is the second thing that you can do to interact is to do these text messages. The third thing is that you can be a guest on our podcast. I can take up to 9 people on this podcast. I can hold 10 people total, and then the the pictures will be set aside and so forth. So um, we um, so with that being said, um, I'm uh, really happy and really pleased if you take the time to email my show producer. Her name is Grace, and she works really hard behind the scenes, and she helps me, and she's been helping restore our links with Facebook, and I really thank her for what she does. But you can email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's on my screen uh, right there, and you can send her an email and say I want to be on Bob's morning show or his evening show on Monday or Tuesday. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day, 14 times. And I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time and then 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time. There is some exceptions. Like this Sunday, I'll be on at 8 o'clock, so I have time to go to church with my family. So I'm on a couple hours early on Sunday. And this Friday Night Lights, I'm going to the big football game. And so I'll be on right now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 4. And I will let you know from time to time if it changes, but that's kind of my schedule. And so just tell Grace that you want to be Bob's morning show or his evening show on Monday or Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday. And she'd take care of the rest. She'll contact you, give you the link to StreamYard to get on the podcast and tell you the do and don't, the do or don't. So with that being said, um, the the oh the we never use the first names of children or judges or social workers, and there's no eating or smoking or eating chewing ice or anything snacks or anything like that. So I look forward to you coming on my podcast, and as I say, the most I've had is 4 at one time, but I can have up to 9, including me as 10. So that's the third way. Now, the last way to interact with this podcast is to call in. And I have a number. It's 626 698 0990. That means my phone's live. That means you can call in during the showtime hours. If you call before or after the showtime, I can't answer the phone. Just leave a message. I'll text you my show hours. I'll text you my show hours. But I'm only supposed to talk during the show. So the phone is open at 626 698 0990. Now, I have a guest on the phone that's wanting to uh, uh, she's listening and she also talks from time to time. Her name is Faye. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. She's a single mom. She has 2 children, and she is trying to get custody of her son, who's 23, uses special needs. She lost her daughter through no part of her own. So she's listening in the background, and she will help me with certain things I come across. Now, it seems we have a little bit of an issue with the last couple of days, ever since we lost our links. of not having too many people on. Um, uh, it's I've had some people that have found us, and on YouTube, it's one link. It's called YouTube Fight CPS Stop Taking Our Children. That's what the YouTube one is, and the Facebook one is the reality series CPS The Horror Stories. And hopefully we will get some people on. Um, this morning went kind of quiet, and so hopefully that some people will call in because I'm here to help you. And one of the hardest things for everybody to realize is that you can't trust or depend on this government agency. They're corrupt, they're not transparent, and they did me wrong. They did me really wrong. Um, I've been fighting CPS now for 15 years, and the first 5 years of it was because of false allegations. And that's one of the areas you got to be careful about because there are two kinds of people that make call ins. One are the professionals like doctors and firemen and policemen and nurses and counselors and teachers and principals. Anybody that works with children is required by law to report suspected allegations or abuse. So if they see a child with bruises all over the body, they're going to ask that child, how did you get the bruises? The child said, I was playing a bad game of soccer and I got all these bruises. Or if a kid is disheveled, doesn't look together, they're gonna find out. And if they is suspected, it's always be safe, never sorry. And they're professionals, so they're trained not to take advantage of the situation. So they will call in. The other kind of person is the lay person. That's what did me in. Is that it was my wife's father and mother and her three sisters or brothers were calling in every week ever since I lost my job in 2010 through no fault of my own. And I've been struggling, but her family wanted to adopt our kids. They wanted our kids because they didn't come to our wedding. They haven't been supportive. And I've been married 31 years. My second marriage was 31 years. My first marriage was 10 years. So I've had 41-year marriages. And all total, my family consists of 6 children. One by my first wife, and then 3 by my second wife. And I adopted her 2 children that she had, one out of rape and then one out of date rape. They both were raped. So um, one child I've known since she's 5. The other one I've known since he's 20, and now he's in his 40s, and her daughter is now in his 30s. So I've known her since 5, and so the older children have been living out on their own when the incident happened to me. My incident didn't start to 2015. The first 5 years from 2010 to 2015 was harassment. And that was only instilled because a layperson called in. Now, the problem is social workers don't know who to believe. And they will investigate, but they don't do a very good job. And this is Orange County, California. Maybe your area is nice. Maybe they do that. But they took my children that weren't in imminent danger and put them in imminent danger and harmed them while in foster care. And on top of that, I lost one of them because of them. I lost my home, I lost my credit, and it hindered me getting work. It was really a traumatic experience for me. So I'm here to help you because I care. I'm a family man. Um, and I really want to help you. I really want to help you. And so um, I know that you must be going through a terrible lot of frustrations. Faye every day tells me the frustrations she goes through. And it's hard because she's an honest woman. The other day, Faye and I were getting nowhere with our local people, so we decided to call Congress. And we called the operator there. The operator answered at Congress. I was surprised. And then she said, well, which congressperson do you want to talk to? And we kind of told her a story that no one has taken it seriously. The governor of Kentucky, none of the congressmen of Kentucky, like Rand Paul or any of the other people in Kentucky. So Faye said we contact Schuler. So we got Schuler's number, And she gave it to us, and she says anything else. A very friendly conversation, and it seems like maybe Congress could help us. So we called Schuler because that was the person at Faith that would be probably a good idea. He's a Democrat, and he is, I guess, one in charge of one of the groups there. So we called his office. Of course, we got the voicemail. And they're supposed to give a call back within 48 hours, which is yesterday. So I haven't bothered him calling again, but it's something that we are trying to do to help you all because unless someone makes changes, they're going to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over. Now, if you think these social workers are corrupt, all I do is give you my case, or here's a case of eight social workers in Prescott, Arizona. In 2022, they bought pink T-shirts, and on the front they stenciled that they're professional uh, uh, child kidnappers. And on the back, they put, do you know where your kids are at? And they parade around in Walmart, Costco, Target, Best Buys, all the big Kmart, all the big stores. Well, they were, so many parents complained and then were fired, as well as the director of Prescott Social Services there. Left them with only one. You see, there is a need to protect your children. Faye has kept a list of about approximately 30 kids that she has the names, she's made tombstones of how they died in custody of the Child Protection Service in Kentucky. I'm only talking one area. And it's sad because you look at those pictures, those once were living children, and they were killed in the hands of CPS. So CPS is corrupt. They're not transparent. All they want is their money. It's $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, but $1 trillion. And so you got to keep that in mind when you're dealing with these rogue agencies. I don't know. I tell people that you like Alice in Wonderland and you fell in the rabbit hole and you met the Chester cat, and the Chester cat tells you to go to all these rooms. The rooms go nowhere. Top of it's off with your head. It's a crazy world. But also, fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. I can't emphasize enough of how important it is to get an attorney. And you may say, wait a minute, we got an attorney. Yeah, the attorney you got is a court appointed attorney. I'm not saying don't use them, but here are the facts about court appointed attorneys. They're very new to law. They don't know about dependency law or family law or juvenile law or any of those things related to dependency law. They know criminal. They're starting out. They're paid by CPS. They are underpaid, and then they carry a caseload of 30 more clients. So they don't have time to talk to you outside of court. And in California, you're not allowed in the courtroom. So there's a lot of handicaps there. So I'm telling you all that you need to really think this through, but there is a way you can fight them. It just takes a lot of hard work and preservation and putting up with a lot of stuff you won't believe. Your constitutional and civil rights will be um,
Violated.
violated and stuff. And so that is being said there. Um, oh, good news. Gracious says all are broadcasting right now. All seven of them Facebook pages are on YouTube. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Grace. Let's give a big round to Grace. She really works hard to make it a success. So we should be getting you some people. I have one person in the room, and maybe they want to ask me or Faye a question or whatnot. But thank you, Grace. I appreciate that. And so you just can't trust these social workers. I, I they'll tell you one thing, get your hopes up, and then take it over. We have a girl named KK Richardson from Brooklyn, New York. She was all excited a month ago to get her kids back. They made promises, but then they reneged, and now her heart's broken. So many parents are led to believe you just can't trust them. You can't trust them. You you can't let them in your home, and you can't talk to them. and you don't want to give them your kids. I have a rule number 3, and it's an important rule. In fact, I will go ahead and talk about it now. Rule number 3 is you don't open the door for anybody, for police, for anything, nobody. If you want people to come in through your door, tell your friends to have a special knock or a special door ring, and then you can let them in. But don't open the door because we've had so many people lately killed. We've had a black airman in Gainesville, Florida, that was shot 5 times in the chest on May 3rd. We have a black lady that was in the kitchen, and the sheriff and his deputy were over there, and he fired point blank at her. He thought he was going to harm her. I don't know where it was. Faye, do you know where that incident was?
Which one?
The black lady that was doing the dishes that was shot in the face 5 times.
Uh,
I forgot her name too.
Sonia Massey, but I can't remember where it was at.
Yeah, Sonia Matthew. But anyway, he killed her. In fact, the deputy asked the sheriff, his partner, should I get my first aid kit? And he said, nah, she's gone. I killed her. Of course, he was fired that night and he was charged with first degree murder. That's not how you apprehend people. That's not how you settle disputes or anything else. I don't know what all the details are. I'd like to more know about that case. And then there was an Asian Korean lady that had mental issues, and she was cold-bloodedly shot 5 times. 5 times. So the answer is, do you open the door? No, you don't open the door. You don't need to. There's only 3 reasons they can get in your home. The police can or child protection agency. One, you give them permission, or a friend of yours happens to be at the house and they gave permission. So many people told me where a grandmother let the CPS in, or somebody did one of the kids had a friend stand or let the C. You don't open the door to anybody. You don't let them in, because once you let them in, that means you give them permission, and then you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. So it's so important that you don't do that. And it may be inconvenience or something, but it's for your safety. I'm worried about you getting shot or killed, and they're going to try to take your kids or check your house out. That's the only reason why. And they think because of the law, or they think that because they um, uh, they don't care about your constitution or civil rights. So, with that being said, um, you just don't let them in. And the second way they can come in is if there's domestic violence going on. That means if there is a parent wrestling with a child, or hitting a child, or choking a child, or throwing the child on the wall, or the parents are arguing. If 2 parents are arguing in front of their children, that's a no-no. That's domestic violence. And the police and the social worker can enter, especially if their parents have weapons like a gun or knife. Too many people, I mean, there's another incident in Africa. I don't mean to bring up Africa, but it's on the news. There was an Olympian athlete from Nairobi, I think it was, um, and she was strangled by her boyfriend. Um, uh, people get angry and they get very vicious, and they need to do a timeout. And I really express the importance of timeouts. Timeout is a wonderful tool. You look at 2 football teams; they have timeouts. Each of them are given 3 timeouts a halftime. Total of 6 timeouts, okay, for the whole game. And the purpose of the timeouts are a good thing. It's to suddenly, hey, wait a minute, something's not right. We need to address that. We need to figure it out. So they'll very disciplined. They'll take the time out and resolve it. Well, when you guys are arguing, that is something wrong, and you should take a time out. And you should go for a walk if you're a parent. There's no need to continue arguing in front of the kids. The kids don't need to hear it. Too many children go to bed and hear their parents arguing downstairs. And I know for a fact I'm one of those parents. And I did argue with my wife, and it was sad. I mean, my wife and I have been together 31 years, and we still argue. And now I've resorted to ignore her. I finally have gotten strong enough, and if it gets bad, I'm going to walk out the door, go down to the beach, hug a dolphin, play in the sand, splash water in my face, take a time out. So domestic violence is one of the worst things going to happen in your case because they will take your children away from you. They will take your children away, and nothing is more. I mean, once CPS has got their links into your children, their claws, you're not going to get them back. It is a nightmare. It is a nightmare because why? They're in there to make money. It's $1 trillion business, not billion, not million, but trillions of dollars, and they need it. In my case, in Orange County, they were getting $20,000 for each of my three children. That was $60,000 per month. If you had 100 families with three children, that's $6 million. That's where they make their money. They give money to foster care. They give money to all kinds of things. I mean, I had one foster care parent that was worried about losing her money, so she bought my son 100 pairs of socks. And when he came home to us, he said, "Dad, what am I going to do with these 100 pairs of socks?" I said, "Oh, God damn, I wish they were underwear. That'd be a lot easier to use." But you know, they money is what is really made CPS go bad. We do need them. Today, if you look at the breaking news, there's a half a dozen cases of kids, 4 years old, 6 years old, that were beaten by parents. I mean, one boy, because he peed in the park, had a barber, a guy 41 years old, take a piece of lumber and beat the hell out of him. And then a couple of days ago, a boyfriend of the mother punched the girl so bad in the stomach that she looked like she was pregnant. She died. She wasn't even 4 years old. So I'm not saying we need to get rid of CPS. All I'm trying to tell is that CPS has got to show some responsibility, got to put the danger of the children first and be sensible and knowledgeable. I mean, those pink ladies that wore that thing around, they were fired as well as the director, but they weren't thinking. That's the kind of social workers out there. They will tell you all kinds of social workers that are really, really bad. They're really, really bad. And I'm having an audience now in front of me. All the high school kids are listening to me. I don't know. I never had that before. But anyway, um, it's it is horrible. So you have to be careful. That's why I give these rules. You don't let them in your house. There's only three ways it can take your children. I already said one way is that the domestic violence is there, or you give permission. The third way is that they have a court order, a warrant, and in the warrant, they'll give them permission to take away your kids. So, with that being said, I want you all to think a little bit about that and do a timeout. Timeouts are important. And when you do timeouts with children, it's a lot better than using a belt or a spoon. A spoon leaves marks, a belt will leave welts. Those are the old fashioned wrong way. I know they used to do branches outside behind the shed. But bruising a child or beating up a child is not the way to do it. Arguing in front of a child is not going to go anywhere. So when you do a timeout with a child, you tell them, hey, look, you're living in my house. You're under the age of 18. You go by my rules. And I want you to take a timeout because you said something wrong to your sister or nasty to your sister. I want you to think about it and then come back and we'll talk about it. That's the importance of a timeout. You need to talk about it. You need to have time so they understand what they did wrong. So I'm giving you a life skill. Maybe all of you know it. It's old news. But timeouts are really helpful. They're used in football games. They're used in domestic violences. An employee at work can do a timeout too. If you're in disagreement at work and things aren't going good, certain employees are shooting their bosses or firing up, like at the post office and stuff like that. We need timeouts. It's so volatile out there. It's bad enough. And then we got young children getting hold of guns and killing other children. I mean, this thing with the 14-year-old is really devastating. I don't know how CPS is handling that one. I know that the father is being charged criminally and everything, and I think they're getting a parent too. I think they're getting the mother, because you are responsible for your kids until they're 18. And so if a child is under 18, you got to, see what they're doing. I'm broadcasting from Starbucks, right? Over Labor Day weekend, there was a football game nearby, and some kids from the opposing school went into the bathroom and destroyed it. Where is the parents watching or supervising kids? Kids are going in gangs in the neighborhood. In Indiana, a couple of months ago, there was a bunch of middle schooler kids that went rampant at 11 o'clock at night and brought guns and firing guns at each other. And that was in the state of Indiana. That isn't in Detroit, Michigan, or Chicago, or New York, or LA, California. So I'm trying to tell you is that parents got to be aware of their children, what they're doing. They got to set some responsibilities and stuff. Because this is a crazy world out there. Everybody has a cell phone. They're born with a cell phone, I guess. And we got to be careful what the kids are watching and what they're doing on there because it's so bad. But I want to get back to the root of CPS. You're in CPS because you were accused by either a layman or a professional. And in my case, my layman was abusing it. A lot of people, I would say probably 90% of the laymen that call in are abusing the system. They don't like the neighbor's dog barking. They don't like the neighbor's yard or approaching their yard. So they're gonna call in and say, Jones is next door is leaving 4 children unsupervised. Well, CPS comes out and talks to Jones. He has no children. He's not married. And they say, oh, well, then, see, this is the bad thing is I think anybody that calls in should sign an affidavit and sign their name to it and turn it in. People that call will hide behind a phone. They sign in. It can still be called confidential, but if the social worker investigates and finds out that it's a ploy for retaliation, then they should be able to um, um, uh, talk to that individual and give out the name so they can be civilly lawsuit. That is against the law. They abuse the system. It's like a man wearing a police uniform enforcing police issues. That's against the law. You can't use that. You can't, and you should not be doing that anyway. CPS needs the soldiers need to deal with the real issues of abuse, not chasing down and not putting parents through horrific. Oh my God! Today on the news, the last 2 days, they've had that poor guy that the police spent all day trying to get a confession where his dad was. His dad was at the airport, I guess, to visit a relative, and the guy had some mental issues, but they abused him. He brought his dog down there. It was so bad they brought his dog. So it's a crazy world out there, and I know that you're in here with CPS and you want the magic thing, and I wish I had a wand that could do it. But I'm here. I'm a family man. I care about you. I will help you. And Faye is here. She's spending her valuable time, apart from her issues and everything, to listen, to help, to give advice and everything. So you got to help yourself. And I should talk about um, a attorney too. That's my rule number one. You need an attorney. Most you say, I can't afford an attorney. I got a court appointed attorney. Well, that court appointed attorney, I'm not saying you don't use him, but he won't do anything for you. He is a criminal lawyer. He's not a dependency lawyer. He's not trained that well. He's brand new starting out. He's paid by CPS. So you got to be careful of him. If you don't like him, you can replace him. You can replace him. But I don't think the next one's going to be any better. But what you need to do is you need to talk to a real attorney. You need to get one. And I have one here that you can talk to. His name is Vincent W. Davis. For 35 years, he's been fighting CPS. He's a trial attorney, and he has won cases and gotten children back. He's also sued them civilly in both federal and state courts and won millions of dollars. So he's the real deal. He'll talk to you. I have a special arrangement that for 30 minutes, for $60, he'll talk to you. Now, he's one of the best. I think the reason why he charges is that if he didn't charge, then no one would ever call, or they wouldn't think it's important to call. So he has a nominal fee. He could charge more, or he can be free. But those kinds of attorneys, there's no guarantee if they're any good. There are free attorneys everywhere that will give consultation. But the key to your success on deciding on an attorney is one, you have to ask yourself, is this attorney that knows about dependency law, that knows about juveniles, knows about family law and everything? Two, has this attorney ever fought CPS and won cases against them? Three, have they ever done a civil lawsuit against CPS and won cases? If the answer to all three of those questions, yes, you got yourself a pretty good attorney. But you have to understand these attorneys are con artists, they'll take your money. Like anything, I tell people get 3 quotes. Anything in life, you get 3 quotes. If you want to buy a container, get 3 quotes. You're going to buy something expensive like a TV, get 3 quotes. And, check it out. Today, just to tell you how gullible sometimes I am or so like that, Colonial Penn Life Insurance is offering at $9.99, no medical exam, and a chance for a life insurance policy. Well, I'm 73, and they said for $9.99 I'd have $600. $600 for life insurance. Well, that's not going to pay for anything. I mean, a funeral you're looking at $3,000 to $4,000, and plus there's a lot of complaints about their service. And you have to wait 2 years, by the way, before even that policy you cash in on it. And it's really hard to get the money. So I've heard nothing but negatives. It's all the pros and cons. Anything in life, you sit there and look at the pros and cons. Get yourself a yellow sheet of paper, a legal pad, draw a line down it, put at the top pros, and then put cons. And whatever thing you're thinking about, should I hire an attorney? What are the pros? And then what are the cons? He's too expensive. There's not too many cons with the right kind of attorney. So all you do is you call my number on the screen, 888-888-6582, and ask to speak to Mr. Davis. That's Vincent W. Davis. And he is a trial attorney. He is your dependency real thing attorney. And he's doing a case in Northern California, Merced. He works out of LA in Arcadia. He has several cases in LA, but he has a case in Oklahoma. And he will do other states. So you need to talk to him. Here's retainer. I used him, but I had to sell my home. My home was a very expensive home, and I couldn't get my credit line because I already had a credit line and used it up. And then my first mortgage, I had over $1 million in mortgage fees on 2 different loans. And so, I got suckered into my loan. I had what's called a predatory loan in buying a home. And that's the mistake. If you get a predatory loan, that's where they jack up your documents. I was making $250,000 a year, and they jacked it up to $500,000. That's why I qualified for my home. That was $853,000. Now that home that I sold sold for $2 million because the median market right now where I live is $1 million for a home, especially close to the beach. You're not going to find a home under $1 million here at the beach. But there are some good homes. Faye and I were just looking at a home in Kentucky. You get an acre and a half for $85,000, 2-story home, 3-bedroom or something like that, 1.25 bath or something, 1.5 bath, and big yard, nice place. It probably needs a lot of fixing up to do. I mean, it's definitely the house. It's not your newest house, but it was doable. It was doable. I don't know where it's located, but you got to be really careful with your pros and cons. And so you want to look at that. Getting an attorney is getting a doctor to do open heart surgery. That's how important. You're not going to have a mechanic do open heart surgery or a plumber. You're going to get a professional doctor. That's why you need a professional attorney. So call Mr. Davis at 888-888-6582. Also below the screen, I have a link there that you can locate his schedule. All you have to do is type in H. Let me see here. I'm sorry. My mouse pointer is with the bright sun has disappeared. I'm trying to get to. Okay. Mhm. There it is. Okay. What you do is you go HTTPS colon / the word candidly CALENDLY .com uh, uh, apps APPTS VWD / Bob Pace BOBPACE. And there you can sign up for him and he can help you. You can sign up there and he can help you. Yep. Now, Faye, by the way, has got some good news. She is working with a reporter at the moment, trying to bring attention to the criminal acts of the DCBS cabinet, which is what they call in Richmond, Kentucky, and surrounding counties. Now, as you know, Faye and I were trying to talk to somebody that can help us. So now she's got a reporter that's listening to her. So Faye has taken a very active role of trying to end the abuse of CPS in Richmond, Kentucky. Whatever she does will help us all, because no matter what I tell you to do and the rules to follow, you're not going to. It's hard to work with them. There's no question about that. The best time to bring news attention while Kentucky is being investigated by the Department of Justice for um, the act called the Disability Act. I forgot what the first day, but anyway, there's a lot of disabled persons, both parents and children, that are being abused by CPS. And so, you know, she's trying to get word out, so maybe someone will listen. That's why CNN News was doing that guy that was uh, wrongly accused of murdering his father. He never did. But CNN News got involved, made a big front page news so the whole world can see it. And of course, the police are backpedaling. One of them, the guy says, well, we spent all day because he needed to do it like that. I mean, it is crazy what they're doing. Oh, it's Americans with Disability Act. I knew that it's okay. ADA stands for American with Disability Act. It's supposed to help out Americans if they need to use a bathroom. The door is wide enough for them to get the wheelchair. The toilet is high enough they can sit on it. There's access to the sinks and stuff. So, you know, it's egress. It's supposed to help out. Well, CPS doesn't care about them or the children. And so the DOJ, the Department of Justice, which is the same DOJ that Donald Trump is using to try and help him out with his crazy matters. I mean, today the judge finally relented to let the hearing go and the sentencing go to after the elections. I mean, the whole thing is stupid what they're going through, and it's sad because it's wrong. It's wrong. And anyway, we need to alert people. And the way to do that is like Faye with the news reporter. And also, Faye wanted to include the mental disability as well. You know, there's American Disability Act, but there's also the Mental Disability Act too. There's special needs. There should be CPS should be with arms welcome somebody. If somebody has a home that is troubled, they should be putting an arm around the mother or father, or sitting down with the children and try to talk to the children and the parents. But that isn't happening. That is not happening. CPS one goal is to make trillions of dollars. And they don't care about parents. They don't care about seniors. They don't care about the elderly. They treated me with no respect. My director of the Child Protection Service in Orange County, California, was terrible. I went to the top. Well, there's people, I'm not afraid to talk to the top. I'll talk to anybody if I see some wrongdoing. And they were doing wrong with my family. They were justifully doing wrong with my family. And they put us through hell. It wasn't until I got my attorney, Vincent Davis, able to get my 2 kids back, but I didn't get my daughter back. And that was because the social worker, a young girl, no license, no college degree, very inexperienced, told us parents you never see your daughter again. What had happened, she was on the stand, and my attorney, Vincent Davis, was questioning her because at that time, my wife's sister and her husband were trying to adopt our daughter. And so Vincent was asking the social worker, well, what kind of parents are these? Are these good parents? Have they had any domestic violence? And of course, the social worker said, no, they're great parents, no domestic violence. And on top of that, they are they're good, loving parents. Well, then Mr. Davis says, well, maybe you can help me, social worker. In his briefcase, he pulled out a folder, and the folder is about an inch thick. Inside was about 30 more documents of domestic violence at the home of my wife's sister and husband. And there are bad cases. There are physical abuse, bad physical abuse. And so, with that being said, they had to deal. I mean, she had to deal with perjury. Perjury is when you lie on the stand. And once she perjurized herself, her face went down. She put her head down, and she left the courtroom very embarrassed. But my attorney Vincent said, "Hey, we got her now. We can do a civil lawsuit because she lied." Well, to do a civil lawsuit, he said it would cost me $50,000 just for the retainer. So there was my idea of doing a civil lawsuit. Yes, it'd be millions of dollars, but I didn't have any more money because I spent all my money on him. But she committed perjury, and then she told us parents, you guys will never see your daughter again. And then she instructed her 12-year-old daughter to follow her directions. She said, I want you to emancipate from your parents, get a divorce from your mom, get a divorce from your dad, from your brothers, from your aunts and uncles and cousins, and also from your grandparents. And she did that. She divorced us. Said, I'm not your daughter. And she changed her birth certificate, sealed it, and then got adopted by foster care, who filled out a birth certificate and had her be their kids. But she was abused. She's left the foster care, and she's living with her older daughter. And she's all right, but she's not talking to her mom and dad. I do encourage the brothers to talk to her, so she does talk to her brothers. So I'm telling you, these social workers are really, really bad. And they're bad about providing Americans with disability egress, ingress, or everything, and mentally disabled as well. There are so many children in their hands that are killed, and it is so sad. I mean, you can imagine Faye, who's in foster care 5 times during her young years, and she had a horrible mom that did horrible things, but she still loves her mom, and her mom's gone. But it affected her later as an adult, because why? CPS will keep a record. They will keep a record, and they will come after you when you have your kids. They'll come after you when you have your kids. So I think it's really important that you be careful. Don't talk to social workers. Don't let them in your home. Don't give up your kids. And you want to really be careful out there with them. They're not your friend. They're not going to friend. I have about 5 minutes left. I lost my phone number. I don't know where my phone number. Oh, maybe it's because I put Faye's thing up. Yep, there it is. So you can call me at 626-698-0990. I have about 4 minutes left that you can talk or ask a question. And I want to help you. The only way you can help yourself is ask questions and listen to what I have to say. So I've talked to you about hiring an attorney, the importance of hiring an attorney. I give you an attorney to contact. I've talked to you about letting people in. Rule number 3, or talking to social workers, or letting them have your children. Another thing you be careful about is medical trafficking. They will take your children if you bring them to emergency or sometimes there because you may have said something weird or something like that. So be careful when you go to the hospital. Also be careful when you're having a baby because they'll take your baby if you're tested for drugs. So you got to be careful ahead of time. You got to plan ahead of time. The social worker, the police will try to come in and take your baby away. But they're ambulance chasers, so you don't have to listen to them. You don't have to listen to them. Okay. That was rule number 3. I talked about rule number 1. Rule number 2 is your notebook. You want to organize your notes. Get an 8.5 by 11-inch notebook with 3-ring binder. Put all your documents in there. Get tabs to separate them. Have a section called incidents, and your incidents are very easy to do. You get a blank sheet of paper on the first line. You put the date, the time, the location, and who is involved. In the second line, you put what the incident was, and then the third line, you put the outcome of the incident. If you don't know the outcome, you come back later, fill it in. Because you won't remember these incidents 12 months from this time. So it's very important that you keep a log of your incidents.
Yeah, we do. What? Here and your ex is over there talking to cat.
Now, rule number 4 is you want to research. You want to research everything you can possibly know about CPS. Spend 60 hours a week, 8 hours a day, finding all you need to know. You need to know the pros and cons about things. You need to really understand how things work. You need to know what a 388 motion is, a JB 160. You need to know what ICWA is. You need to know what a case plan is and how it can hurt you.
I don't want to be here.
Be careful. Don't sign things. Don't do things because they're tricksters. They're tricksters. They'll work against you. So that's really important there. So do the research. And rule number 5, my 5th rule there, is what Faye is. Faye, you like to talk about your rule number 5? Faye may have stepped away, but her rule number 5 was to get an envelope or a folder to put your important documents in there. That's what rule number 5 is. Put your important documents, especially of your children, like their birth certificates, their school report cards, their medical records, and your records, your police report, your marriage license, all of your shot cards, all that stuff should be kept in one spot and should be with you. It's so important because they will try to do things against you and so forth. So I recommend that you're very careful, but you go and talk to Vincent Davis, and he'll steer you in the right direction. He'll steer you in the right direction. Okay, this now brings me my closing remark. I want to thank Faye for giving her advice and being here with me. She really helped the room because we had a couple of people come in, but no one texted me comments or did emojis or did anything. But I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Saturday. That's 10 a.m., and hopefully some of you will talk that in. God bless you all, and this is